Hello and welcome to Blizzard's Expanded Universe, narrated by Geek Positive. For those of you who don't know, the Expanded Universe is a collection of short stories and other pieces of fiction located on the World of Warcraft official website that you can find by going to the game guide and then clicking Expanded Universe. It has a number of collection of short stories and a collection of the history of the World of Warcraft. This program is going to read to you a number of pieces that are on the website for those of you who don't have the time or inclination to read it to yourselves. Then we are going to discuss some of the facts, because sometimes the lore contradicts itself, or sometimes the facts are just so interesting it's worth delving a little deeper. So basically, this is a program for story noobs who are looking to gain some new knowledge on the World of Warcraft, or lore geeks who just want to brush up. It does go a little bit deeper than what is covered in the real-time strategies. A little bit, some of the stuff is mentioned in the novels. So I would recommend the Expanded Universe for anybody, and that's why I will read it to you. What we'll be covering today is the first 2 pages of the first chapter, Mythos. The questions that will be answered in today's episode are, what are the Titans? Who is Sargeras? And what's with the Eridar? Because that's right, it's only the first episode and we've already gotten into a little bit of a conundrum with lore. So we will be discussing the issues of the lore after the narration. So, without further ado, here is the first 2 pages of Chapter 1 of Blizzard's Expanded Universe. Enjoy! The World of Warcraft, Blizzard's Expanded Universe. The History of Warcraft. Chapter 1, Mythos. The Titans and the Shaping of the Universe. No one knows exactly how the universe began. Some theorize that a catastrophic cosmic explosion sent the infinite worlds spinning out into the vastness of the Great Dark, worlds that would one day bear life forms of wondrous and terrible diversity. Others believe that the universe was created as a whole by a single all-powerful entity. Though the exact origins of the chaotic universe remain uncertain, it is clear that a race of powerful beings arose to bring stability to the various worlds and ensure a safe future for the beings that would follow in their footsteps. The Titans, colossal, metallic-skinned gods from the far reaches of the cosmos, explored the newborn universe and set to work on the worlds they encountered. They shaped the worlds by raising mighty mountains and dredging out vast seas. They breathed skies and raging atmospheres into being. It was all part of their unfathomable, far-sighted plan to create order out of chaos. They even empowered primitive races to tend to their works and maintain the integrity of their respective worlds. Ruled by an elite sect known as the Pantheon, the Titans brought order to 100 million worlds scattered throughout the Great Dark Beyond during the first ages of creation. The benevolent Pantheon, which sought to safeguard these structured worlds, was ever vigilant against the threat of attack from the vile extra-dimensional entities of the twisting Nether. The Nether, an ethereal dimension of chaotic magics that connected the myriad worlds of the universe, was home to an infinite number of malefic, demonic beings who sought only to destroy life and devour the energies of the living universe. Unable to conceive of evil or wickedness in any form, the Titans struggled to find a way to put an end to the demon's constant threat. Sargeras and the Betrayal. Over time, demonic entities made their way into the Titan's worlds from the Twisting Nether, and the Pantheon elected its greatest warrior, Sargeras, to act as its first line of defense. A noble giant of molten bronze, Sargeras carried out his duties for countless millennia, seeking out and destroying these demons wherever he could find them. Over the aeons, Sargeras encountered two powerful demonic races, both of which were bent on gaining power and dominance over the physical universe. The Eridar, an insidious race of devilish sorcerers, used their warlock magics to invade and enslave a number of worlds. The indigenous races of these worlds were mutated by the Eridar's malevolent powers and turned into demons themselves. Though Sargeras' nearly limitless powers were more than enough to defeat the vile Eridar, he was greatly troubled by the creature's corruption and all-consuming evil. Incapable of fathoming such depravity, the great Titan began to slip into a brooding depression. Despite his growing unease, Sargeras rid the universe of the warlocks by trapping them within a corner of the Twisting Nether. While his confusion and misery deepened, Sargeras was forced to contend with another group intent on disrupting the Titan's order, the Nathrezim. This dark race of vampiric demons, also known as dreadlords, conquered a number of populated worlds by possessing their inhabitants and turning them to the shadow. The nefarious, scheming dreadlords turned whole nations against one another by manipulating them into unthinking hatred and mistrust. Sargeras defeated the Nathrezim easily, but their corruption affected him deeply. As doubt and despair overwhelmed Sargeras' senses, he lost all faith not only in his mission, but also in the Titan's vision of an ordered universe. Eventually, he came to believe that the concept of order itself was folly, and that chaos and depravity were the only absolutes within the dark, lonely universe. His fellow Titans tried to persuade him of his error and calm his raging emotions, but he disregarded their more optimistic beliefs as self-serving delusions. Storming from their ranks forever, Sargeras set out to find his own place in the universe. Although the Pantheon was sorrowful at his departure, the Titans never could have predicted just how far their lost brother would go. By the time Sargeras' madness had consumed the last vestiges of his valiant spirit, he believed that the Titans themselves were responsible for creation's failure. Deciding, at last, to undo their works throughout the universe, he resolved to form an unstoppable army that would set the physical universe aflame. Even Sargeras' titanic form became distorted from the corruption that plagued his once noble heart. His eyes, hair, and beard erupted in fire, and his metallic bronze skin split open to reveal an endless furnace of blistering hate. In his fury, Sargeras shattered the prisons of the Eridar and the Nathrezim and set the loathsome demons free. These cunning creatures bowed before the Dark Titan's vast rage and offered to serve him in whatever malicious ways they could. From the ranks of the powerful Eridar, Sargeras picked two champions to command his demonic army of destruction. Kil'jaeden the Deceiver was chosen to seek out the darkest of races in the universe and recruit them to Sargeras' ranks. The second champion, Archimonde the Defiler, was chosen to lead Sargeras' vast army into battle against any who might resist the Titan's will. Kil'jaeden's first move was to enslave the vampiric dreadlords under his terrible power. The dreadlords served as his personal agents throughout the universe, and they took pleasure in locating primitive races for their master to corrupt and bring into the fold. First amongst the dreadlords was Tichondrius the Darkener. Tichondrius served Kil'jaeden as the perfect soldier and agreed to bring Sargeras' burning will to all the dark corners of the universe. The mighty Archimonde also empowered agents of his own. Calling upon the malefic Pit Lords and their barbarous leader Manaroth the Destructor, Archimonde hoped to establish a fighting elite that would scour creation of all life. Once Sargeras saw that his armies were amassed and ready to follow his every command, he launched his raging forces into the vastness of the Great Dark. He referred to his growing army as the Burning Legion. To this date, it is still unclear how many worlds they consumed and burned on their unholy burning crusade across the universe. Hello, and welcome to part 2 of Blizzard's Expanded Universe, narrated by Geek Positive. This is the part of the program where we discuss what we just heard, and we have a lot to discuss. Basically, we heard about how the Titans decided that they were going to order the universe, which, you know, it's totally acceptable, I guess, and then appointed Sargeras to be the leader against all these big evil enemies that they were encountering. So let's talk about Sargeras. By the way, I'm using the Warcraft 3 pronunciation, a sort of bastardization of the Warcraft 3 pronunciation to say Sargeras. Some people say Sargeras. So, what's with him? What really happened? The lore that I read to you was released when the original vanilla World of Warcraft went live, and they had it on the website. I'm not sure of the exact date of the release of the universe, but it's been around for quite a long time, and especially since pre-Burning Crusade. And you know that because it's not the retconned version of the story. So basically, the version that we just heard said that Sargeras went around and he encountered two evil races, the Dreadlords and the Eridar. And those two races corrupted him and turned him evil, and then he used them and created the Burning Legion. If you look at pretty much any other lore, especially if you play a draenei, then you'll know that this doesn't exactly match up with some versions of the story. And it's true, this is one of the bigger retcons in WoW history. Basically, they took it all back. Sargeras wasn't corrupted by the Eridar. They said this is not true anymore. Basically, he did encounter the Dreadlords, and he did lock them up, and they sort of made him doubt his path. And so he sort of wandered around for a while, and just went a little crazy. I guess he became depressed, because his worldview was completely shifted. You know, when that happens, I'm sure that's happened to you before. Something that you've internalized and it's thought to be true suddenly isn't true anymore, and you have to rethink your whole universe. And with Sargeras, that means that everything that he's been doing is wrong. Order isn't the natural way of the universe. Chaos is, which means that he's been doing everything wrong. And the people he thought were the good guys, the Titans, they're the bad guys for trying to order the universe, because that's not the natural order of things. So Sargeras, he comes to this conclusion, and he decides he's going to create an army to fight the Titans and to create chaos, because that's the way things are supposed to be. And that's what he does. So yeah, he does pull out the Dreadlords, but then he goes looking for more generals, because he just can't find any that are really good enough. And that's when he comes across the Eridar. According to WoWWiki, on the planet Argus, Sargeras found the agents he sought, the Eridar, a race of highly intelligent beings with a natural affinity for magic in all its myriad forms. Sargeras appeared to the Eridar's three greatest leaders, namely Kil'jaeden, Archimonde, and Velen, and made his offer. So you'll notice that we've got the Great Prophet in there too now, Velen. I'm not sure. So that's another change from the story, and it's an important one, because Kil'jaeden and Archimonde, as we know, agreed, and they took his offer and they became his generals, but Velen, he disagreed, and he took the rest of the people who agreed with him, the other Eridar, and he named them the Draenei, which means, I think exiled, or exiled one, and they left. So that's another important part of the story to know for the Draenei's lore. And it's important to know that the Eridar didn't corrupt Sargeras. It was the other way around. That that's a bit of contention for some fans. A lot of fans don't like the idea of the retcon in general, some don't agree with it, and as far as I know, most people have come to accept it at this point, but back when Burning Crusade was coming out, this was a really big deal. So it's interesting that we get to address something like this in the very first episode. We found out that Sargeras cracked. He broke. I think for me, this would have been the point where if I was a Titan, I would have realized, okay, maybe something's wrong, because he's erupting in flame and, you know, molten lava, and is sort of exploding and cracking from the inside out, and he's growing horns and glowing. I don't know, guys. I think that this might be a clue that you might want to do something about this guy. And the Titans didn't. And I think that shows what kind of people they were. They couldn't deal with these, you know, evil demons or enemies that they were seeing coming from the Twisting Nether. So they appointed Sargeras to do it, and they couldn't, you know, cope with it on their own. They just have one person to shoulder the whole burden, which, you know, could be one of the follies. Just choosing one person to do all of this, to fight all of the evil in the universe. That's a tough job, and he did it for a very long time. I mean, it says millennia. That's a long time. So yeah, so they see that this is happening, but I guess they just don't like conflict, or they don't believe in pure evil. They can't conceive of it. So I guess they just didn't see what was happening with him. Eventually they do take action, but I guess that's another episode. So, what does all this mean to me as a WoW player? Or to you as a WoW player? Right now, I guess it doesn't mean much unless you play a draenei. And even then, unless you play a draenei who, I guess, is very well versed on the history of your people, or was alive when the draenei were exiled themselves. That is possible. The draenei have very long lifespans, and many of them do remember splitting away from Archimonde and Kil'jaeden. So it would not be a stretch to incorporate some of this into your lore for your character to remember it if you're a draenei. And even if you weren't there, you, as a draenei, most would know this. They would know the story. They would know who Sargeras is and who the Burning Legion is, and they would probably hate them with a passion unless they were pretty evil draenei. So for the rest of you who just either don't care about lore or don't roleplay or just want to play the game, what does this mean? It doesn't mean much. It explains who the Burning Legion is a little bit. We'll find out more about that. And it definitely explains who Sargeras is and what his motives are. I think his motives are important because people like to just assume that he's just like big bad guy wants to destroy the entire universe. And you know, it is deeper than that. It is better to understand your enemies, because then you can fully understand everything that they're doing and what it means to them. So Sargeras destroying the universe isn't about him hating all life. It's just about him trying to restore things to the way that he believes that they should be. And it's interesting. So no, it doesn't affect the game too terribly much, but it is good to know where you're coming from. So, I think that's it. If you're interested in learning more about World of Warcraft, you can find this, what I've read today, and more at the official World of Warcraft website on the Expanded Universe tab. What I'm reading now is Chapter 1, Mythos. There are many more chapters to go and read, which I will be doing in the future. So if you don't want to do it now, you will get a chance to later. If you're interested in learning more about Sargeras, you can find a page on WoWWiki. That's www.wowwiki.com/Sargeras. You can also find a page at WoW Insider. a Sargeras Know Your Lore page. I recommend their Know Your Lore pages because they are wonderful. So I will be reading pages 3 and 4 next time of Chapter 1, Mythos, and we'll be covering a number of other things that'll be very, very fun to discuss, mostly the Burning Legion. So, see you then.